Welcome, everyone. Let's call the meeting tonight for the Historic Preservation Commission to order. Dee, can you call the roll?
Lee Sandwise,
Yes, here.
Chris Sturbaum, John Saunders,
Here.
Doug Bruce, Sam DeSaller,
Here.
Elizabeth Mitchell, Matt Seddon, Renard Cross, Jeff Golden,
Here.
Duncan Campbell, Derek Ritchie, Jenny Southern. Chris Sturbaum, are you here?
I'm here.
Okay.
Okay, great. So hopefully you've reviewed the packet. And I just need approval of the minutes, please.
Move to approve.
Second,
Dee?
Lee Sandwise,
yes.
Chris Sturbaum,
Yes.
John Saunders,
Yes.
Sam DeSaller,
Yes.
Jeff Golden,
Yes.
motion carries.
Okay, so let's move on to the staff approvals of COAs. Go ahead, Gloria.
Okay, give me 1 second. Let me see if I can. It was open. Good. Here we go. Okay, good evening, everybody. The following is the staff approval for 823 West 4th Street in Greater Prospect. Hill. The petitioner is Alexander Burlingame. This was a request for installation of tall vertical treated pine wood board fencing in the backyard. It is mainly visible from the alleyway that runs past the house. The staff approved it because it's mainly viewable from the alley. It doesn't alter or harm or touch the structure in any way. And the vertical pine board material was considered to be appropriate with the rest of the building. Basically, it's a low impact project. Just wanted to show just a little more. That's the location, the fence outline, and another image of the location. So completely behind the house. And yeah, so that's the staff approval. It's going to be going out tomorrow.
Great. So these other two, they're on the.
Oh, this was, do you not have the, wait, I thought
I don't have the amendment unless it's behind here.
not amended. Yeah, these were moved here.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
And I thought I had printed out.
Okay, so
Yeah,
let's
version.
move on to the next COA. You tell me which one it is.
Okay, the next COA is a revisit from last week. It's COA 2132. This is staff recommendation for the Historic Preservation Commission's decision. So 601 South Valentine Road, located in Elm Heights, in the Elm Heights Local Historic District, has already has a deck in the back of the building. The back of the building actually faces Second Street. So it's a corner building with Valentine and Second Street. The proposal is for a back deck addition that contributes to an additional 98 square feet. It's going to be, the proposal is for the same material used with the existing back deck and an additional staircase. The staff recommends approval mainly because it uses materials that are considered appropriate within the neighborhood's guidelines. And the deck is going to be built behind the primary facade. So although it does face Second Street, the setback is great and it's is actually considerable. And the new construction is consistent with what is existing. And I have here just a few additional photographs for additional context. Here is aerial image of the location of what is being intervened. And here are the plans that were submitted.
Great. Is the petitioner here?
Yes, I'm here.
Do you have anything to add?
Unless there's any questions, but yeah, it's a pretty straightforward addition. Just to give a little bit more room as you exit the building, it would be the new deck area. And then the stairs are just to make easier access to the driveway below.
Great, thank you. So Commissioner questions. Lee, do you have any questions?
No, I don't.
Chris?
Yes, the only thing that jumps out are the white downspouts. If you consider making them brown so they don't highlight so much, I think that would just blend with the rest of the decking. It's just a suggestion.
Well, those were existing, so we weren't going to do anything with them. But if the council feels that they need to be upgraded to brown for any purpose, I guess we could explore that in the scope with the customer if it's at their discretion.
Right. Are you adding any more downspouts?
No, we won't be adding any more downspouts. The downspout that's there is supporting or draining a under deck roof area so that it doesn't fall on their cars. So
Oh,
we
sure.
won't-
No, I knew that.
Yeah, we won't be disturbing that at all or adding to it.
Right. We're just talking about the visual effect and we can't require that and I don't intend to, but I suggest that you might suggest it to them that it would make it all blend together more instead of just shouting that here are some big white downspouts.
I will definitely bring that to their attention and let them know that that was a recommendation from this meeting.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Not a problem.
And Sam?
No questions.
John? John?
No questions.
I also have no questions. Renard?
I couldn't get yours to work.
Renard?
Get yours to work? Yeah.
He's on, right?
Must be muted.
Was there a question? I didn't hear it if there was one.
We're waiting.
Oh, okay.
Okay, well, let's move on. So any questions from the public? Commissioner comments? Lee?
Nope.
Chris?
Nope.
Sam?
I've got no issues with this.
John?
No comments.
I have no comments. Bernard, are you there? Well, we're gonna move on. Okay, so I'm entertaining a motion.
Move to approve COA 2132.
Second.
Dee?
Lee Sandwise,
Yes.
Chris Sturbaum,
Yes.
John Saunders,
Yes.
Sam DeSaller,
Yes.
Bernard Cross, Jeff Golden.
Yes.
Motion carries 5. Yes.
Great, so let's move on to COA 21-33. Or what's next?
Somebody raised their hand.
There's a hand raised. Who is that?
This is Elizabeth Mitchell, and I'm on
Oh, you're
board.
here.
Yes,
Okay. Great. Welcome, Elizabeth.
welcome. Good to see you.
Okay, so let's move on to 2133.
Okay. So with 2123, Mary Alice Rickert, the owner, then petitioner, actually came to the office because she thought it would be here, and told me she would run home and log in. So I'm not sure if
So
she's
Mary Alice, are you here?
here yet.
All right, so let's move on to the next one.
Okay.
COA 21-35.
I'm trying to go as fast as possible. Here we go. Okay. CO1 21-35 is for a new construction on 744 South Morton Street in the McDowell Historic District. The petitioner is our very own Sam DeSolar. He is requesting new construction on an empty lot for a non-residential building. So the staff has the following comments. Oh, sorry. The McDowell, so first of all, the McDowell Gardens Neighborhood Association Executive Community and the neighbor, Jean Lave, have both given the project their support. The staff recommends the approval of COA 2135 with the following comments. So the new design does occupy more than the 800 to 1,500 square feet that is recommended by the guidelines. However, the guidelines are based on residential buildings. This is not a residential building. It is located on a higher density lot. It also respects the height, setback, and front-facing proportions of the neighboring buildings. The roof configuration is overall respects the pitch of its immediate context, although it does take some creative licenses with parts of the roof design. As a new structure, it does not overwhelm the scale, but very clearly distinguishes itself from the neighboring structures. This is noteworthy as the proposed building is adjacent to the Henderson House, which is an outstanding house with deep roots within the community. So therefore, the recommendations are for an approval. I didn't write approval there, but the recommendations are for, the staff recommendations are for an approval. However, the proposed materials used, although the proposed materials used fall in line with the wide variety of materials found within the neighborhood, the wall patterning is very busy and does not respond to the scale or patterns textures overall seen both within the immediate and larger context of this historic neighborhood. So the staff recommends adjusting the pattern to fit the scale, so the wall patterns to fit the scale of surrounding context. Other than that, the staff has no further comment and does recommend approval.
Sam, what do you got?
All right, I think there's a bunch of other drawings in here. If you just want to flip to the next slide, I can drag you through it. These are just context photos. If you are all familiar with this area, this is in the McDowell Gardens. It's right on Morton Street, which is right adjacent to the B line. This is sort of catty corner from Hopscotch to the north and to the west on the vacant lot immediately to the north of the Henderson House. If you go to the next slide, Gloria. All right, so what I've tried to do is, I mean, McDowell Gardens is a great neighborhood. It's got a mix of residential buildings and industrial buildings. And this is somewhere in between. It's not a residential building. It's not exactly an industrial building. I'm gonna put a bunch of artist studios in this building, one of those artists being me. I'm in the back bit. And then the rest of the building is gonna be relegated to other studio spaces and support spaces. So some of the things I've tried to do to make it fit in with both the neighborhood and the immediate context, I've aligned the front facade of my building with the adjacent front facade of the Henderson House, put some porch on the front of mine that sort of mimics porches on other bungalows and the one that Henry Glassy put on the Henderson House back in the 70s. And then the roof does slope down to the south because we're going to put a bunch of solar panels on there, and also so we can get a bunch of clear story in the north. If you go to the next slide, please. Yeah, so this is the north and the south. The upper one is going to face toward the north, and all that gray stuff at the top is clear story glazing. And then the facade material is fiber cement siding that's sort of canted out a little bit at the bottom to act like big shingles. I want to keep this as unitized as possible to keep costs down. And because it is a modern building, I don't want to, you know, I've been talking about this for a long time in the HPC, and I think the things you really need to respect in a neighborhood are settlement patterns and massing. And I think this building addresses both of those. You can see on the bottom, all that grid at the top is on the lower elevation, sort of at the top right. Those are all supposed to be a full solar panels. So I'm going to try and power the entire building that way. Put a battery backup in there. There's sort of a courtyard that faces the backyard of the Henderson house toward the south. There's a couple of balconies on the second floor that face south and west and east. And then the back, all the stuff at the back is sort of the fencing around trash enclosures and that sort of thing. If you'd go to the next slide, please. So the one on the right, that's basically the street facade. It's got a little porch on the ground floor with a balcony above it and an awning above the sort of main space at the main entry. And then on the other side, that's sort of the alley entrance. That's got a garage door and a man door and sort of a little shed dormer on the back. The roof's, it's basically a double sloped hip roof. It's got a 1 in 12 slope on the long end and a 3 in 12 on the short end. You go to the next slide. I don't know how many more slides we have, but let's see what we got next. All right, and then this is just that front again. I'm planning on doing a bunch of limestone walks and bike parking, and the landscape is more representative. The big tree in the front is representative. There's an existing hackberry there, and the rest of it I'm gonna follow the planning department's guidelines and use as many native species as I can. I've got river birches and columnar oaks and the various shrubs and whatnot. If you go to the next slide, please. This is a view from Dodds, or looking up the alley, so you can get an idea of the scale of the building relative to the Henderson house and the surrounding. It gets lower as it gets toward the alley, and it's just that big, the front that faces Morton Street that has the larger street presence. The next slide, please. And then this is, I've taken the Henderson house out temporarily so that you can see the entire south face of the building. So I'm gonna landscape quite a bit of that because I want as many deciduous trees on this side as I can get for shade purposes. And there's a big awning that runs along the south face, both to shade the walk and the windows along that edge. Next slide, please. That's the north side. I've also taken out the house to the north so you can see it a little better. There's a little service yard on the right and a stoop sort of in the middle of the building that serves two of those studios. All of the studios on the ground floor have direct access to the outside. So there's a bunch of doors on the outside of this building. Next slide. And then this is the garage entry again. I think we talked about that before. Next slide. And this is what it looks like from the northeast. There's a really small bungalow directly to the north. And both the Henderson house and this building are about 5 or 6 feet up grade-wise from that house immediately to the north. Next slide. And then that's basically what it looks like from Hopscotch. I don't know how many more I got. I think that might be it. Yep. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have. I've presented this back to the McDowell Gardens Neighborhood Association last month, and they're very excited about it. I'm very excited about it. I think it's a great neighborhood. I think the city of Bloomington really has a dearth of art studio spaces, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that anyone has.
Okay, so let's move on to questions. Lee, do you have any questions? Lee? Okay. Chris, you have any questions?
Yeah, are the panels one color?
Well, I'm planning them to be one color, but with a bunch of artists in the neighborhood, I don't know how long they'll stay that way. So my plan is basically, it's basically a 4x8 sheet of hardy panel, smooth surfaced hardy panel that I'll probably paint mostly white, and then the bottom of it kicks out about 3 inches because I'm sticking a 2x4 at the bottom of it edgewise. So you have a rain screen that sheds water, and then I'll probably paint the underside some crazy color every once in a while, so you get a little bit of glow on the panels now and here and there.
Well, you're describing each panel as a 4x8 panel. Seems to me there are numerous panels of various sizes.
Yes. So
do they all kick out at the bottom?
They all kick out at the bottom, and with some exceptions, there's a couple of places where they're right adjacent to doors where it's going to be easier not to do that. The panels themselves are all 4 feet wide, and say 80 to 90% of them are either 2 feet high, 4 feet high, or 8 feet high. Then when the grade changes at the bottom, you get some that are like 5.5 feet high, that sort of thing.
But you don't have a drawing that shows how these come out. I mean, side by side, when there's two small panels, there's a big panel, and then the small panel sticks out, and then the smaller panel sticks out at random.
So the top of each panel is flush to the face of the sheathing, plus some furring strips, and then the one above that is kicked out 4 inches. So in between each 4-foot panel is a vertical galvanized metal strip. So they separate those panels into columns, basically.
So all those lines that we see are galvanized metal strips between panels. Is that what you mean?
Only the vertical lines that you see are the strips. The other lines that you see are the panels sloping.
How do the strips handle from 0 to 4-inch projection?
They project basically 5 inches. They come out past the most deep projection by about 1 inch.
Okay, so there's a grid of galvanized metal that projects 5 inches out, and each panel then is at an angle inside of that 5-inch grid of metal panels. Is that what you're saying?
Gloria, if I could share my screen, I could show, I could sort of zoom in on it on the model if that would be helpful.
Let me see, I have to make you a co-host? Yes, let me make your co-host for this meeting.
Okay, let me know when you got it.
I believe, try now. Give me 1 second.
All right. All right, here we go. So this is basically the corner of the building. Is that helpful? So at the corner, at the very corner, this is sort of right here is the southeast corner of the building. That's the porch, that's Morton Street down here. So as you get closer in, you can see, I got too close. You can see that the panels sort of slope from nothing to very close to the edge down there. Does that make sense, Chris?
I see what you mean, yes. How wide are those the verticals?
The verticals are, I've left 1/4 of an inch between, so that plus caulk joint on either side. So they're no more than 1/4 of an inch.
Okay, they're just basically flat vertical lines with no significant width, 1/4 inch at the most, that divide these panels up, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm just trying to understand it.
It's not standard construction.
I have noticed.
Anything else, Chris?
And no, I don't understand your reference to any of the context in the neighborhood.
So I haven't drawn the entire neighborhood, right?
Right.
But if you go on the other side of this building, there are a bunch of industrial concrete block buildings with loading docks on them. You go down to
Right,
Cardinal.
Morton. Mhm.
Yeah, you go up and down Morton Street, and this street is a patchwork of, this is perhaps the most residential 4 houses of this stretch of Morton Street, which is sort of interspersed with industrial, garages, CNC places, engineering places. You know, they're doing this big Hope shelter down at the end of the block at Morton and where the bridge is. You know, you got the hospital parking stuff. So it's this, and then on the, you know, when you get all the way up to First Street, you've got the abandoned shell thing, and you've got where the printing, that printing company used to be. So it's a real mix of residential and industrial, especially along Morton Street.
Right.
And,
I agree.
and the way that the guidelines are written are, they want to keep that. They want to support their industrial and commercial neighbors. So this is a very, you know, one of the reasons that I decided to do this here is because of the neighborhood really being excited and accepting about a presence like this.
Would you say its scale is appropriate for that area?
I do think it is. I mean, it's taller by the, you know, it's taller than the Henderson house by, in the front eave is higher than its next eve by about, you know, a little less than 3 feet. But it's the way the roof is configured. I've tried to make this deferential as possible. It's a 2-story building. And it's an artist building, right? So it's they want height, they want light, they want a lot of things. But I think it's within the realm of buildings in this neighborhood.
Okay, thank you, Sam.
Elizabeth and Paul, I see your hand up. I will get to you after you. So, Lee, are you still with us?
My internet cut out, but it's back. So,
So do you have any questions?
mainly, pardon? My
Do you have any
question was, yes, just when does the project break ground, hopefully, and possible projected completion date?
If you need some space, we can talk. But I've got to, this meeting, I think, is going to be the deciding point on that. I have cleared my decks to work on nothing else but this. I've got a contractor who's saved me a spot in his schedule for the fall. So hopefully it'll be up by the spring.
Okay. John, any questions?
Dan, how many spaces are going to occupy the building?
How many artist spaces?
Yes.
Well, in part, it depends on, hang on a second, I can probably, actually, Gloria, would you take the screen back and go to, I think I left you a floor plan.
You did. It's not in this presentation because it was so big,
Okay.
but
All right, hang on a second. I got one lying around here somewhere. I can go
Okay.
grab it. Hang on a moment.
I didn't. It's on the packet. I can pull it up if you give me an extra minute.
All right, we'll see who gets there first.
Why can't I see?
All right. Am I still sharing? I can't remember. I found it though.
You can share.
Okay.
Okay. If not, I would have gotten it in 30 seconds more.
Okay. Hang on.
Still pull it up.
All right, so can you see that, John?
Yes, Sam.
All right, so the back, that's the architect space. And so on the ground floor, there's one big and two smaller spaces. And on the upstairs, there's 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. So it sort of depends on how you break them up. Some of the spaces are actually pretty small because a lot of space is being taken up by support spaces. It's not a big site. The site's only 50 feet wide, and with a 10-foot setback on each end, you got a 30-foot building. So it's what it is. I wanted, even though it's not code required, I wanted a nice exit stair. So it's doing what it can do within the envelope that it's got.
Looks great, Sam.
Thank you, sir.
Elizabeth, questions?
Okay, can you hear me?
I'm actually looking for Elizabeth Mitchell.
Well, it's Elizabeth Cox-Ash. You'll see it.
Can you wait on just till we
Oh,
get
I'm
through the
sorry.
commissioners? Yeah, I'm sorry about the confusion. Elizabeth Mitchell? Are you there, Elizabeth?
iPhone.
I'm sorry, I was muted, didn't realize
Yeah.
it. I don't have questions.
Great, thank you. I also don't have any questions. Renard, are you here? And do you have any questions? I don't think he's here. Okay, sorry, Elizabeth and Paul, you can go ahead.
Okay, are you on the Ash one?
Yes, the ashes,
Okay.
please.
We're from the neighborhood, McDowell Gardens. And I wanted to let y'all know, when we first went for our historic conservation district, and now it's been 21 years ago when we did that, we were the first neighborhood chosen by the planning department to have a neighborhood plan. One of the things that was prominent in the neighborhood plan was to have artist studios. That's all over our neighborhood plan. So historically, this is something the neighborhood has wanted. When Sam presented it to the neighbors present, everyone was excited about this. And I think this will be a fine addition. I know there was a question about the roof. We have a pre-existing brand new structure right next to the Hoosier Heights climbing facility. We affectionately call it BUB, Big Ugly Building. It is the rope room, and it goes to the top of the church with the same slope of the roof, just like what Sam is presenting with this. It's a much taller building, a much more prominent building, and that went through without any problems at all. And I don't see any problem with this. Furthermore, the zoning all along Morton, some of it is residential, some of it is future medical, and some of it is light industrial. So it is a mix. And at the time we came up with our neighborhood plan, the idea of a switchyard park was not in existence. Now that it is, this just fits nicely when anyone biking or walking or going about, the possibility that we could have artists right there serving the park. That's all I need to say.
Great, thank you. Any other questions from the public? Commissioner comments, Lee?
Oh, wait,
No?
we want Sam to. Sam, do you want to step up for a sec?
You have further questions?
Yeah, any other questions for Sam? Well,
Sam, if you want to, when you step out, Come back
Oh.
in, 'cause you'll be in the waiting room.
Okay.
Just
you-
just sign out and come back in. We'll let you back in.
Okay, will do.
Okay. Thanks, Sam. Okay. Now, Lee, any comments? Did we lose you again, Lee? Okay, we'll move on. Chris, comments?
Yes. I think that you could make an artist studio and get all of the amenities and still blend and coordinate with historic patterns. And I think what happened on the other side of the tracks, that was new too. And it's wonderful, but it also echoes and reflects a past context while being new at the same time. So my philosophy in how to do infill simply doesn't fit with this project. So I'm going to have to at least pass. And I respect everyone who has all the reasons to support this. I simply can't.
Great, thank you. John?
I don't have any comments on the fact that I will support this project. I think it's much needed for the artists in our area to have a place to work. You know, it's a little modern, but I think it'll fit well in the grand scheme of things, especially eventually the hospital property will be changed.
Thanks, John. Elizabeth Mitchell?
I'll go along with it. I'll vote yes, simply because the neighborhood association likes it. Since I don't live there, I don't too particularly like it, but if they like it, I'm okay with it.
Great, thanks for your comments. And my comment is, I take to heart Elizabeth and Paul's comments about what the neighborhood really wants in this area. I also think that this unique building does fit in, and it does create a context, and it differentiates itself from everything else. So, I mean, I'm saying two things at once, but I think that based on the context, if you go 2 or 3 blocks south or 2 or 3 blocks north, it does fit in. So I am also going to support this project. Lee, are you with us? Okay, I need a motion.
I move to approve 2135.
And I second, this is Elizabeth Mitchell, and I second it.
This is Daniel Dixon from Legal. If I could jump in real quick, I think we're going to
Sure,
need
Dan.
Lee. I think we're going to need Lee for a quorum to vote. She would be our 5th voting member, since Sam will have to.
Yeah, I was worried about that.
Yeah. So I don't know if we've got the ability to contact Lee, or if she can call in real quick, or what she can do on that. I know she emailed that she was having some difficulties connecting.
Do you have her number, John? Looks like you have her phone out.
She's muted.
Do we want Sam for the vote?
Sleep now. Can you message her? No, I mean, what's in the,
Let me see. Yes. One second. See what-
we were looking for you.
Message. Chat.
Chat.
Where is it?
It's up there on the top. See what's
Ah, here we go. Sorry, it just. Okay. Let me.
Sorry for the delay, everyone. Can you just move it? Unmute her? You can unmute her.
I can.
It's past. No.
Oh.
I saw her in there.
She may have been. She was here,
Yeah.
but. Let's see.
Lori, this is John. It looks like she's on and she may be calling in with her phone too.
Okay,
Thanks, Sean.
Yeah, I think I see her on there with her phone. So
See, can you hear us yet? What?
She's on.
Lori, you might ask her to, if she's able to communicate via chat. Maybe do that.
I'm gonna type.
I'm here.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Thanks, Lee.
I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on, but I'm back. now.
Okay, before we move on, do you have any comments around this project?
Do I? I think it's wonderful. I hope that look to see it move forward.
Great. All right, so we have first and a second. So Dee, can you take the vote, please?
Lee Sandwise,
Yes.
Chris Sturbaum,
Yes.
John Saunders,
Yes.
Elizabeth Mitchell,
Yes.
Jeff Golden.
Yes.
Motion carries 4 yes.
I'm gonna admit Sam.
Great. So Sam, are you back? Did you admit it?
Give them a second. I did.
Sam? Okay, well, we can move on. So, Mary Alice, are you in the meeting?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, so we can go back to COA 21 -33, 532 South Valentine Road.
Okay, here we go. Okay, so, wait, before we go, Sam, can you hear us? He's in
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you let me know what
Okay.
just happened?
Yeah, it passed.
Yay! Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I really appreciate all the support I've been getting from the neighborhood and from the commission. So I really appreciate it.
Great. All right, so go ahead.
Okay, yes, so now to COA 2133. This is a proposal by Marielle Sprigger for the window replacements of 16 windows on the first floor and 17 windows on the second floor of 532 South Valentine Road. This property is an outstanding property in the Elm Heights
Hey,
Historic
call
District.
Ronnie, 219-3181. Tell him I'm still with this meeting. Don't call me.
Whoever just talked, can you mute, please? You're just on the phone.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so, oh, sorry, before we go on, staff comments. So according to the Elm Heights Historic District Design Guidelines, if original windows, doors, and hardware can be restored and reused, they should not be replaced. And when there is replacement of missing elements should be based on accurate documentation of the original, and consider salvage or custom-made windows or doors to ensure the compatibility with original openings and style. So understanding that this is an outstanding historic structure with original windows, and that the windows are in a poetic way of speaking, the souls of the house or the building. They are a very sensitive part of any historic architecture. The staff recommends approval, and here are the considerations of why. So the windows that are being proposed for replacement are deteriorated from the exterior, and from a distance they do look intact. However, the wood has swollen, and these windows, if they are open, they will not close. If they are closed, they will not open. Some of them have pulley systems that have broken. So it's a combination of different forms of damages. The staff also recommends that only highly deteriorated windows should be replaced, and that replacement should be done in keeping with materials and styling of the building. The reason that the staff recommends approval is because, because the replacements are to be custom made, and a lot of research was done to make sure that they would be sensitive to the material of the house. So here are the images that were sent. Staff, in other words, me, I added additional highlighted yellow circles in order to better indicate which windows are proposed to be replaced throughout the 4 facades of the house. And here are 2 images of some of the damages that can be seen from the interior. And these are, here are the images of the Pella Reserve, the company that's proposing to change the windows. The packet has more details on the materials and all of the pieces that constitute each of the custom-made windows to be that are being proposed. So yeah, that's the presentation, and now I leave it on to the agency.
Great. So Marielle, do you have anything to add?
Yes, and thank you, Gloria. So the house is nearly 100 years old. We've lived here for 20 years, and we've been trying every now and then to find someone who can repair the windows. And we get names for people, and they all say it's too much work, I don't want to do it. And we just have not been able to find anyone to come repair them. Gloria's images are from the first floor. I had worked with Connor Heretic, her predecessor. He'd been over twice last January and also took pictures upstairs. We have a couple windows upstairs that are really deteriorated, that the wood is just rotting. And that was from the way downspouts were hitting the wood. And we just got, they were all copper downspouts. And so we had to save up to replace those. And so the windows are now up. We've chosen not to replace the ones on the 3rd floor because they're okay. 2 of them on the backside were replaced by the woman who owned the house before us. And then others are custom. There's some quarter circle windows on the 3rd floor that when Paula gave us the bid, we just about passed out. So we are really asking to replace the ones on the 1st and 2nd floor to get them to open, to get tighter seals in the window in the winter and the summer. We have some that just don't function at all. And then you can't really see, but the north side of the house over the screened-in porch, there are 4 windows that the wood is just rotten. And 2 of them were bad when we got in and then when we moved here, but then they've just gotten worse because of the downspouts.
Great, thank you. Commissioner questions, Chris?
You haven't been able to find anyone that can repair windows, is that the case?
Can and will are 2 different things. We've been given names of people who, like Connor gave us 2 names of people who he said are great at it. In fact, he did it on the side some, but then nobody, I mean, we've been trying for years, and all the contractors and the people who do this, They come over and they say, you know, it'll take me an entire day or two to do one window. And we just can't get anybody who wants to do it for the time and effort and the cost. They just don't want to do it. And I'd say we moved here in in 2002. And we've tried periodically on and off with different names. And then we just wait a few more years and try again. And we just decided this time to go ahead and get the windows bid out.
Okay, thank you.
Lee?
I don't have any questions, but yeah.
Sam?
A couple of questions. One is I saw a bunch of doors in the bid, and I'm wondering if you could tell me what those are, where those are located, and
Sure. So there are two doors they're in the bid that are off the kitchen. And one is an interior door in a mudroom that nobody would see, but we are replacing it with a craftsman style door that matches the other interior doors in the house. And then another door goes onto our screen porch, and the woman who lived here before us put a door from a closet that goes on the screen porch. So it's not, it's a beautiful door, but it wasn't A, the original door, and B, it's an interior, like a decorative door. And we just honestly, we've been putting so much money else in the house that we haven't had the money yet to come around to getting a new door made for that. Then the other door that is on the, I guess that'd be on the west side of the house, is an exterior door. And there is, I don't know, Gloria, if you want to go through the pictures. Not that one. So if you can go back to that one. Boy, I sure did a good job on those pictures. Sorry. The other one, Gloria, if you can go back. Yes. So do you see the one, sorry, the one you were just at with the glass? There's a little mudroom there, and under that little porch, there's a door to the inside of the house. And it's also not an original door, and it's not solid wood, and it doesn't go with the house. I guess I should have included a picture of that door, but we just figured it was time to get a real door.
okay, so that addresses the door question. I guess this one's a question for Gloria. Is the back facade actually visible from a public right of way?
Give me 1 second. The back itself, not very much.
Not as much.
Give me a second. Let me check. Let me do some Google wizardry. Okay, and this is 1 second, 532. I'm going to take you all on the trip. It's going to be a field trip for everybody. I'm going to share the screen. Let me do screen share. So
The colors of alley back there.
Oh, that's old. That's probably 4 years old because we have a new fence.
okay, so this is about as much as is. I do not believe the Google goes into the alley, but this is what would be visible back.
Okay, so the alley is also a public right of way, so the whole thing is visible. So I think that addresses that. Thank you. I guess I have one other question, and that is, these are aluminum clad windows, yes?
Oh, well, they're wood and aluminum clad. They're the Pella true divided light ones that are to, the best we can do to imitate the original windows.
So when you say wood and aluminum clad, that means they're wood on the interior and clad with aluminum on the exterior.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's that. What do you have a detail, a profile of what happens at the edge of the masonry opening? How much trim there is, how much window there is, how big that is?
You know what? I'm going to tell you, I can't answer that completely. We were told that we would end up with the exact same window space, that it would be, perfectly trimmed to the edge. And I would assume it was the edge of the window. And then the interior part where the pulley system now is, because they would not have the pulleys, the new windows, they can fill for us and insulate, and then give us the additional benefit of those insulated spaces and windows that are insulated. So it's also a big, we look at it as a good choice in terms of our home heating and cooling and electricity usage.
Okay, thank you. That's my questions.
Great. John?
Yes. Have we got any feedback from the neighborhood association?
So I sent out the packet to the neighborhood associations for all the neighborhoods that had buildings intervene, and I did not hear back from them.
And Jenny's not here. Anything else, John?
No, that's it.
Elizabeth Mitchell? Elizabeth Mitchell, are you there? If so, you're.
No question. No
Great,
question.
thank you. Okay, any questions from the public? Hearing none. Lee, you have any comments about this?
Yeah, I do. I know this house, and I know that I empathize with the owner who is searching for the holy grail of finding people to do things, and then they might have the ability, but maybe they don't have the time or whatever. So I know that this is probably the best possible solution, and I will support this.
Great. Chris?
Yeah, I think the guidelines are clear, and I think if we support this, we will not be able to say no to any other window replacement in the future. It's an outstanding house. The windows are not badly damaged, and these have lasted 100 years, and they can last another 100, and they're part of the historic fabric. So decisions should be made at the neighborhood guideline level, or maybe we should review our own guidelines as a commission, but I think it's pretty clear. And even staff said if original windows and doors can be restored, they should not be replaced. And those are like broken ropes and swollen windows. And there may be a few that need to be rebuilt, but we can't really justify it based on our directives from the guidelines that we follow and the guidelines of the neighborhoods that they follow. So while we may be sympathetic, we will not be following our guidelines if we approve this. So I'm not going to support it.
Yeah.
I have a lot of sympathy with the owner. It's frustrating to try and get people to do many things, and I'm also very pleased that they have gone the extra mile to get their copper downspouts replaced. Elm Heights is the most restrictive neighborhood in the entire city. And I would concur with Chris that the guidelines are very clear on this. This is also an unfortunate time in that you've been through this with Connor and now with Gloria, but the way this is presented, I can't see the damage on the windows. I can't see the profile of what you're proposing to get replaced. So to be able to begin to think about approving this as is, I think I would, for one, need much more significant documentation of the damage on the windows, and we would have to look at each window on a case-by-case basis, which and what you want to hear. But that's what the guidelines say, and I agree with Chris. If we let this one approve this one as presented, we won't have a leg to stand on, and we're just going to need to rubber stamp every other window replacement petition for Elm Heights.
Great, thanks, Sam. John?
I'm in agreement with Sam and Chris. I don't know if you all remember, but a few years back, we had a similar situation where the homeowner went in and changed out all the windows. And they ended up paying for that in the end. It is unfortunate how this situation is now. I would suggest that if the commissioners would have time, that maybe we should go do a walkthrough and really determine what's happening.
Thanks, John. Elizabeth?
I don't have anything to really add. I don't have anything to add.
Thanks, Elizabeth. I am having a hard time with this because I know what the property owner is talking about, finding craftsmen to do the work that can be done is very difficult, especially right now. But I also agree with Chris and Sam that the guidelines are clear, and also with John that this may be one where the commission goes and looks at the windows. Maybe we can get Duncan to weigh in on finding somebody to do the window repair if it's possible. So I am not going to support this DOA.
There's a comment via chat. Steve wants to make a comment to everybody.
Okay, great. All right, Steve?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I'm Steve Wyatt from Bloomington Restorations. We deal with window issues with properties we have preservation covenants on, and oftentimes we work hand in hand with Indiana Landmarks. And they have a list of Indianapolis-based window restoration people that they recommend, and I'd be happy to share that with staff and with the
yeah, if you could share with that with staff, and then she can share it with the property owner.
Yeah,
that'd be great.
I agree with several of the commission members about, I mean, this is an outstanding property in a historic district with clear guidelines. So I think that you can't just allow wholesale replacement. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Steve. Any other comments from the public? Okay, I'm entertaining a motion.
I would move that we table this and that the commissioners, if possible, get together and take a look at what's going on.
Is petitioner, are you okay with that?
That'd be fine.
Okay, great. All right, so we have a motion. We have a second.
I'll second that.
Dee?
I'd just like to add as the petitioner, when you
Yes.
take on an old house like this, the costs are absolutely extraordinary. And the time and the money we have put into this house has been extraordinary. We've done everything we can to keep it looking the way it is. And I think it's just frustrating as a member of the public when you're trying to do the best by the house. I don't know. I guess I'm just saying it's very discouraging to be trying on and off for years to get things fixed and to be, paying for slate roofs and copper downspouts and tuck pointing and everything to do a house. And it's just frustrating to have an outside body tell you no. I mean, I understand why there is a historic commission, but I think it's frustrating and it's too bad. I mean, we would save a fortune on heating and cooling bills. It's an extraordinarily expensive house to heat and cool.
Thanks for your input. And we haven't said no yet. So we just need a little bit more time. Okay, so we have a first and second. Dee, can you do the roll?
Lisa Ann Wise,
Yes.
Esther Baum,
Yes.
John Saunders,
Yes.
Sam Soller,
Yes.
Elizabeth Mitchell,
Yes.
Jeff Golden.
Yes. So Gloria will get with you and we'll arrange that visit. Thank you.
May I make one quick comment about this one?
Yes.
This is to the petitioner, and that you're living in this neighborhood, and this neighborhood wrote their own guidelines. And if you and your neighbors feel that those guidelines are too restrictive, you can rewrite them, but it will take some political will to make that happen. So I would suggest you start talking to people that feel as you do, and if you want to get them changed, that's an effort worth making.
And if I could make an additional comment, you might find, and I suggest that you will find, that repairing will cost less than new windows, and that the savings in heating will be nothing like you imagine it will be. Storm windows on single glazing is close to what you'll get from those new windows. Not exactly the same, but it's not as significant as you would imagine.
Great.
Anyway, that's my comment.
All right, so let's move on to CLA 21-36, 2511 Fritz Drive.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yes.
we'll be right with you. Let Gloria do her presentation.
Okay, I'm going to present and then I'll give you a chance to speak. So this is 2511 North Fritz Drive. It is in the Medlock Heights Historic District. The packet mistakenly said Maple, but it's actually Medlock, which is the modernist historic district. And the proposal is, the request is for the new construction of a detached metal prefab garage, 20 by 30 feet, to be put alongside the original house. So it wouldn't be attached to the house in any way whatsoever. So I'm going with the guidelines for the Medlock Historic District. New structure should be placed in a subordinate position and where possible to the rear of the primary building on the lot. So the staff does recommend approval for the COA 2136 so that the owner can be able to store their cars. However, we would recommend that the new structure need to be considerably set back from the main structure. So currently the proposal is for it to be parallel to the existing house. And so this is sort of a visualization of the structure and the house on the lots. And so what we're saying, if it's possible, because there might be topographical accidents on the property, trees and other things, but for it to be set back some distance from the house. Other than that, the staff doesn't see a problem with the new structure.
Great. Petitioner, do you have anything to add?
Oh, so, exactly. So you want it set back basically from the front of the house as far as we can set it?
Yes.
What if we got property line issues? Because don't it, from the rear property line, could it be as close as possible? I'm not too sure.
It depends on the setback, yeah.
25 feet in an R2, which is where you are, sir.
25 feet from the rear property?
Yes.
Okay, we do have one big tree in the way. Well, not too big. We'd have to cut down one tree right in the middle to set it back a little more. We could probably set it back like 20 more feet, probably.
Okay,
Anything else to add?
No, that's it.
Okay,
So would it be fine to cut down that tree to move it back?
I don't know if it,
in this case, send us images or I need to go back to the guidebook and look at what the policy is for trees on. I'm actually gonna do that now.
isn't this a conservation district, not a historic district?
No, this is a historic district.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really not that big of a tree. They actually planted it there when they, a couple years after they moved in.
Okay, so let's move on to commissioner questions. Lee, any questions?
Nope.
Chris?
Is there a better image of what this garage looks like? How tall is it? How big is it?
That's not good enough?
How tall is that?
It's 10 feet. Keep going.
Okay,
It's a prefab metal building.
Yeah, it's 13 feet to the peak, 10 foot to the side edge.
okay, I see.
Yeah, it's one of them prefab carports with the front and the back closed in, basically.
Right. Can you get it in a color that subordinates the structure more than?
Yeah, it's going to
red,
be in
for
a
instance?
yeah, it's going to be in a sandstone and a white trim.
Yeah, sounds
The
good.
metal, yeah, the metal will be all sandstone and the trim will be white, so it matches the window trim and the gutters.
Understand. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sam?
Have we had any feedback from the neighborhood?
So I emailed the representative of the neighborhood along with all the other proposals, and I have not heard back from them.
Thank you.
John?
Is there any possibility to make it look more conventional and not a pole barn?
Not, man, not really. I mean, that's the way they come prefab, really. I mean, it kind of, just with the metal sides and everything, it's going to look like a pole barn regardless. But I mean, basically, if we set it back a little more, you really won't see none of it but the front garage door. It's 20 foot wide and that garage door is 10 foot. So you see 5 foot on each side, basically. You know, from the front road, basically, you won't see hardly any of it.
Anything else, John?
No, not yet.
Elizabeth Mitchell?
No, no comments.
I don't have any questions either. Any questions from the public? Commissioner comments? Lee?
No.
Chris?
Yeah, I think I can approve it but only if it's set back to the maximum allowed.
Okay.
Okay. Sam?
Yeah, so the maximum allowed, Chris, is probably gonna put the front of the garage pretty close to the back of the house because the lot's only 110 feet deep. And then, you know, you take 25 foot off of that and you've got, you know, so it's gonna be pretty tight back there. That said, I went, you know, on the Google Map adventure, and it's really treed up over there. So you're not going to see a lot of this from the road. And given that we haven't heard anything back from the neighborhood, and given that the owner is willing to both move it back and paint it in a color that's much more compatible with the house, I don't really have an issue with this.
Great, thanks, Sam. John?
No comments.
Elizabeth?
No comment.
My only comment is I really don't like these buildings in residential settings. That being said, based on Sam's comments and that it's going to be set, that we're going to require it to be set back, I will support it.
Okay. And I did find the tree information.
Okay,
So according to the Medlock Heights guidebook, although tree removal is not formally regulated, it is encouraged that if a tree is removed, that a new tree be planted on the property in place of the removed tree.
I think you're pretty good with that.
Yeah, we're okay with that because we actually they planted like 4 this year in the back somewhere. But yeah, we'll go ahead and take care of that anyways.
Okay, so I'm entertaining a motion.
I'll move to approve COA 21-36.
Second.
We have a first and a second.
Is subject to the setback, right?
Yeah, subject to the setback. I'm sorry, I didn't clarify that.
Yeah, okay, so that's a new motion. And Lee, you agree with that?
Second. I'll second that too.
Okay. Friendly amendment. Okay.
We do have somebody raising their hand and I don't know who that is.
I don't see it.
Says iPhone.
I think that's Elizabeth.
Oh, I didn't mean to raise my hand. I didn't know I pushed lower hand.
There you go.
Okay.
Okay, great. So Dee, can you take the roll? Or take the vote? Dee, did we lose you?
Good old Zoom meetings.
You just got 11.
This is John. Let me see if she's. I see her on.
Oh, you're figuring it out.
Oh, I see her. She's on there, but she's muted. Dee, are you there? We just lose her. Well, Jeff, do you want one of us staff to call the roll?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay. Gloria, you go ahead unless you need some assist from Brent or me.
Let's see. Who are we calling? Okay,
One of the face marks.
okay. Lee?
Yes.
Lee Sandwich? Yes.
Yes.
Doug Bruce?
Not here.
Not here. Chris Durbon?
Yes.
Sam DeSolar?
Yes.
John Saunders?
Abstain.
Elizabeth Mitchell?
Yes.
Jeff Golden?
Yes. Great. Thank you. So this is a particularly long meeting and I'm an old man, so I'm going to take a 2-minute break. So just hold on. Anybody else who needs to take a break, please do.
But I
Okay,
think
so-
the petitioner is, I think you're good to go on your garage. Thank you for coming.
So I'm good to go on the Fritz Drive.
Yes, I will be sending a document tomorrow.
Okay, thank you guys. Have a good evening.
So Gloria, while we're waiting on the break here, if Dee doesn't come back, I can take notes here for minutes. If
Okay, I would appreciate, thank you so much.
if you see her,
Wait, let's see.
if you see her pop on here, let me know.
I believe I did see her pop on.
Oh, she just connected. Looks like it's connecting.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
We can hear you, Dee.
Sorry, it's storming out here.
Ah, okay.
Okay, here we go. Lee Sandwise.
Dee, we actually already called the roll. Gloria,
Okay.
so we're
I
just
have them for you.
Thank you.
we're on a 2-minute break and we'll resume shortly.
Dee, I'll actually email you right now with that. You're gonna have to give me half a minute. Dee is here again.
Okay.
Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Hey Dee, this is John. I'm gonna put my cell phone. I don't know if you have my cell phone or not, but I'm gonna put it in the chat. If you think you're losing your connection again, just text me and I'll start taking notes.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
Okay, give me 1 second and I will. I'm doing this very, very quickly just to make sure that everything is done properly. And we will continue because.
Great, let's move on.
Okay,
COA 21-37, that is 408 East 4th Street, Bruce Storm.
okay. Oh, this is just really large. So, in summary, so 408 East 4th Street on Restaurant Row Historic District is, Bruce Storm is petitioning for replacement of handrails and rails and to include new pergolas on the yard. So just doing some improvements to the front of this building. This was a formerly residential structure, which is now commercial on Restaurant Row. So the outdoor seating and fencing, we were looking at what are compatible materials, finishes, colors, other character defining elements that should complement the building. And everything should be designed in a way that doesn't obstruct the view of the building. So let me see. It's important that these, the landscaping, whether it's decks, pergolas, handrails, be appropriately scaled, and everything is designed in a way that enhances rather than hides the building's front facade. So mainly the main concern for staff is hiding of the front facade. If you look at the at this photo that we have here right now, there are some pergolas, vertical structures on the side towards the alley that do have some curtains that are pulled up and down. So the staff recommends conditional approval. So you're going to see in half a second that the proposal includes like it sort of like a semi-translucent wall structure to provide a bit of privacy to the seating area and environment. However, that does prevent some of the visuals, it does cut a little bit of the view of the building. So staff is recommending everything except that. And the handrails are currently proposed in metal, and staff would rather it be done in wood, consistent with the rest of the structure. So these are all images that were sent to staff by Bruce Storm, by the petitioner. And yeah, that's kind of about it. Staff doesn't have a problem with the rest. There are pergolas on Restaurant Row. There is a lot of seating environments that are, this would be consistent with a lot of the seating environments around 4th Street and the commercial restaurant environment of the area. So staff doesn't really see a problem with any of it except for obscuring the building in any way. And yeah, that's about it.
Great, so is the petitioner here or a representative of the petitioner?
He told me, he talked to me, he was going to be here, but
I don't see him.
had doubts about the technological component of Zoom.
Okay, let's set it aside and see if he shows up. Let's move on. COA 21-38, 805 and 807 South Rogers Street.
Okay, so this one I divided into 3 parts because this is a more complex site with many things that are happening. It's a bit more of an ambitious project that involves restoration, demolition, and new construction in the McDowell Historic District. one second. So this is for the sites 805 and 807 South Rogers Street. I am going to start with 807 South Rogers Street, which currently has a historic gas station. And so the proposal is to restore this contributing structure to more or less what it would have looked like before, using careful technology. The only caveat that staff has with the restoration is that the power hose was mentioned for cleaning and paint removal, and like we put an asterisk as to like reconsider maybe because the petitioner did mention using the National Park Service guidelines, and so we would just request look at what the National Park Service guidelines are with reference to using that more sort of powerful or stronger paint removal or cleansing techniques. But other than that, this one is, hold up. So other than that, staff does recommend approval for the restoration and addition of a back part of the structure. As long as everything is kept very carefully, like the cleansing materials are kept as and the restoration is done using the Secretary of the Interior standards for rehabilitation, as the petitioner had mentioned he would use, and to submit the new construction plans, more detailed plans to the McDowell Neighborhood Association. So I did email all of the neighborhood associations with the information of the proposals before at the end of last week, and I have not heard from any of them. However, this is a project that's in phases and there's a lot going on here. So and the drawings that we were sent are pretty, they're still very schematic. So the yellow part that is filled in the yellow pencil, that is the historic gas station, and the red part that's attached to it would be the massing of the new structure. And so the petitioner did send these drawings, the front elevation of how the gas station would look like from the front part of from the street, and then how it would look like from the side with the addition to it. So the addition is carefully designed to respect the proportions of the original structure, and it's really not going to be as visible from the street. Because this is a much larger project, and we're going to go into that in detail, part of the proposal is for the business and the neighboring structure to be moved into the gas station. So now on to the second part. So this is give me 1 second. COA 2138B. The petitioner is requesting for the full demolition of, sorry, not of top, but rather of 805 South Rogers Street. This is a non-contributing historic structure that has been highly altered throughout history. At this moment, the only thing that really that this building is really contributing to the district is its scale and massing. However, right now the staff is not recommending approval of the full demolition, mainly because of the proposal for mainly because staff would rather that the petitioner submit a proposal that would be more in keeping with the massing of this building. So we're going to get to that in half a second. So right now, the demolition on its own does not contribute. The demolition would have to, it has to be tied to the project that would be replacing it. And so here are the following comments for Part C. The petitioner actually submitted some of the best laid out, before I continue, some of the best laid out and clear documents. Everything was explained extremely clearly and organized very well. So the third part, so the new construction of residential structure should be visibly compatible with residential housing types found in the neighborhood. New residential structures should be set back from the street a distance consistent with the setback depths of contributing houses, that is within the minimum and maximum setback ranges. In cases where a new residential structure is built to replace a house formerly located on the lot, the new structure should follow the same footprint. And also, if it's going to be bigger, at least the footprint from front facing, so from the street to have a similar massing as much as possible, even though if it does grow towards the back or the sides. Parking consideration, typically houses with off-street parking in the neighborhood feature straight driveways placed on one side of the house. So the new proposal, the new construction is for multi-family housing, it would be bigger. However, we will see in a second that basically what staff is asking for is to reconceptualize the massing and location of the new structures rather than saying like, no, you can never do this, but rather saying, kind of go back to the drawing board and maybe flip everything from one place to the other so that it is more consistent with the neighborhood massing. So yeah, and so basically put the parking in the back, the structure in the front. We will be seeing it right now. So these are the structures as they are at the moment. The red structure is the historic gas station. The purple, I'm sorry, Exhibit A, the purple structure is the existing non-contributing building. It used to be a house, is now currently commercial with residential building on the second floor. And the yellow structures are the neighboring buildings. And here is the full site plan for the proposal of how it would look like. So the petitioner asked for parking in the front. For example, with the gas station, there's not really, staff doesn't find an issue with the parking on the side to it because it is commercial, it is, and it is to the side, kind of like how the guidebook already states. However, the rest of the housing, I would propose, or staff would propose, that basically the parking and the housing be inverted. So the housing where the yellow lines are at in front, more or less where the existing building is, and then the parking towards the back. And so those are the comments that we have so far. Again, this is a three-parter. There's a lot of things going on. Their staff doesn't consider this inherently a project that is detrimental to the community or anything like that, but rather that the design itself that would replace the existing structure on 805 be rethought before we recommend demolition of that structure. And that's kind of where we're at.
Okay. Petitioner, what do you have to add? Can't hear you, you're muted. Still muted. Still muted.
Good
There you
evening.
go.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank
I'm
you.
Terry Bradbury. I'm an architect in Indianapolis and representing the owner. As Gloria mentioned, this is kind of a multi-phase project, and it's an infill, and it's got a lot of moving parts. So this is the first step of trying to make some of these pieces work together. So so that's kind of the overall of the situation. The the gas station really is a quite nice and pretty much intact structure, and becomes a center point of kind of a design element. It's also a hinge point in terms of being able to do the overall project, because the building to the north is really in pretty rough shape. It looks to me like it's probably was a one-bay building on the north half of it, or north 2/3, and it's had a significant addition put on the south, and the roof form's been changed significantly. The handrail and the balcony is all pretty disruptive. You know, I could not discern what the original configuration may have been, but that's the removal of this with the tenant that's on the first floor has been there for quite some time, and Bob's suggesting we put the addition on the gas station, move that commercial tenant to the gas station and the addition, remove the blue building, and that would allow us to get access to the back of the site for a little, half a dozen units or whatever it is. So I have struggled with the parking and the access point, and I fully appreciate what you're saying about trying to move the structure to the front. That was my starting place, and it just is really, unless you get a part of the goal was to have these as pretty small units, so that, and not have an overwhelming structure. So that was part of the reason for moving the buildings to the back of the site. And I know the parking on the front it's not what we like to do, but it was a trade-off of utilizing the parking and the alley in the double loaded corridor of the parking to be able to access enough parking without using up the site for a bunch of driveways. So I appreciate what you're suggesting. It's just, it's not that we can't go back to the drawing board, but I would say we had looked at some of those alternatives pretty early on. So this is the result of, and the reason it's for the sketchy form is to, we don't want to get too far ahead. My experience here is to get some sense of where the commission's going to be before we spend a boatload of time and money on the project if it's not a viable project. So that's and Corey's done a nice job of separating these individual pieces and recognizing the complexity of it. So.
Great, thank you. Commissioner questions. Lee, do you have any questions?
No, I don't.
Chris?
Don't you have alley space behind that would still let you load from the back?
There's no, this is a landlocked parcel. There's no alley. If you look at the exhibit, I think it's B. It's the site survey that was done by Bud several years ago. I think it's there should be one more that's a survey.
It's in the packet.
So there's no dedicated alley. There's no platted alley on the back. There is a huge power line that goes down through there. There probably was some alley access at some point, but it's not on the back. And we don't have access on either end of it. We don't have control of the site.
Please, that drawing.
I'm sorry.
We just, for a while, we had the site plan up and it's gone again. That would be useful while you're speaking if that was up. Okay, thanks. Now that
There's no,
at the back of the property, what is that gray alley
it's
looking thing?
We don't, you can't get to that. It looks to me like it's been a vacated alley because it's got a lot of right of way and it's got a lot of overgrowth on it.
It
There's
looks like
no-
a power line easement.
Right. It's not accessible. It's not, it has not been a right of, it's not been an alleyway.
Yeah,
in
so
any
your,
port-
your only choice is to load from the front one way or another.
Exactly.
Uh-huh. Mhm.
Bob, did you have something to add?
I was gonna say, that at one point, there was a platted alley back there, but utility has been run right down the middle of it there. So there's no way to drive down it, and there are buildings that are encroaching upon it and at either end. So there's not a chance to get to it. There's also a platted alley between the beauty shop and the house adjacent, but it's narrow and not nearly adequate for this type of use. And it's right up against the house there, as you can kind of see.
Does that mean you'd have to have an alley vacation to do this?
No, we wouldn't be in the alley at all.
The alley that doesn't show, that's between the two structures?
We would not be in that alley at all.
Okay, well, that seems to be a way to load the back.
There's setbacks that would that alley would be in the setbacks, or no, I guess it wouldn't be. But the back alley, there is buildings both north and south of it that encroach into the alley, and there is a big power pole line and phone lines.
I understand that.
Lines all run down the very center of that.
Right. The
alley.
site plan should show the alley between the two structures, though.
Well, the survey shows everything.
Okay, thank you.
Let me go.
And by
So
the
you're
way,
not-
I'm having real difficulty hearing the staff comments.
Okay, I'm just going to say that you're not giving anything up since you're not building on that alley. And it gives you a front access to the rear parking. It seems
have
to
to-
me.
As you know, city would not allow us to have one lane in and out of there. They would require at least 20-foot drives, and we were just trying not to use up any more of the green space than we absolutely have had to. The affordable housing that we were planning on building there, I would mention, I've owned the two structures, the yellow ones to the south, and the four structures actually to the south for 40 years. They were rehabbed with redevelopment funds and my own funds. At the time, the HUD had a program and they helped fund some of it. So I did that. This site here, I bought about 25 years ago. My father ran that gas station back in the during World War II. And so I was born on Madison Street, about 7 blocks south of here, and went to Hunter School my 1 through 6th grade. And so I ran this neighborhood throughout that time. And at one point, the purple structure there, what the beauty shop was a grocery store. And I know real well because he was the only one who would buy pop bottles from me. So I have a really good tenant there, and I would like to go ahead and be able to add on to the gas station and provide her with a site that has a similar amount of square footage so she could continue her business there. The other goal was to build affordable housing, and I can tell you everything that I rent there on that corner is well below fair market rents. 1 bedrooms there go for $495, and that little house there went for about the little house, the yellow one, that's actually 414 Dodge. rented for about $500 a month. And I had the same tenant in there for nearly 20 years, but he has since perished. So we were trying to add some more affordable housing. And it's a good location to add affordable housing. I hate that we're losing the hospital, but still there's plenty of need for affordable housing in that area.
Anything else, Chris?
No, thank you.
Sam?
I guess my only question is the only information we have on what's proposed for the new affordable housing is sort of a diagrammatic site plan. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay, that's all I got. Thank you.
Yeah, I think this, the application was for the first two elements, but I wanted to give you an indication of where this was headed so that, you know, it's a schematic level. I mean, I've generated a half a dozen site plans trying to, and part of this is trying to keep the density down. I mean, try to keep the mass of the units in the back and down at, you know, that's why they're articulated a little masses and so forth, and they're fairly small units. It's all an attempt to keep it the scale to, you know, otherwise you're into a fairly sizable structure and so that was, I think we obviously got a lot more work to do to develop, you know, figure out exactly what all this, how this all fits together in the back. But I want this is a way to get you acclimate, you know, get an indication of where we're headed with the project. But I think the first piece is obviously to get the two things done in the front.
So you need the demolition to do the addition to the gas station?
You need to do the addition first.
I mean, but do you need us to approve that demolition?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Okay, so Sam, any other questions?
I've done my questions. Just had the one. Thank you.
All right, John?
And no questions at this point.
Elizabeth?
No questions.
Okay. And I asked my one question, so I don't have any other further questions. Any questions from the public? Commissioner comments, Lee?
I don't have any.
Chris?
Yeah, I don't understand why we can't deal with these one at a time, because if you're going to move that business into the new structure, what are they going to do while you've torn the building down? I don't understand that. I don't like that we're creating a giant parking lot on the street level. And I think if there was a way to address that before we granted the demolition, that would be my preference.
May I speak here?
Yeah.
What we'd like to do going forward is to have permission to add on to the gas station. That would be the linchpin for all this. As far as the materials involved, we're willing to have some guidance on that as well. Terry has a lot of experience at this type of thing, and I think he can come up with a design that will be compatible. I have done some restoration work myself, having done a historic structure at 4th and Grant for the real estate office there back in the 80s. And I have moved more than 10 houses in this area, 2 from First Street that were moved, one to Dixie and one to up to 8th Street behind the Banneker Center. So I have some experience with that. Once again, I just want to reiterate that the reason why we did the parking up front was to save on pavement, not to have as much pavement and have more green space, which we intended to have kind of at the core of this. I wanted it to be some sort of a courtyard where everyone could share the green space in that courtyard. And I don't like the upfront parking any more than you do. But if we have to build 2 lanes in there to get to parking, then it's going to really detract from it. And we're willing to come back with the rest of the project. If you just allow us to add on to the gas station now, then we would get that done and come back and put it all out there again. I would like anybody who's curious about that beauty shop to see the condition of it should go and look at it, because it was built with those tile blocks, those hollow tile blocks. And
That's clay tile.
It was just thrown up, and the back of the building appears to be falling off of it. The stucco wouldn't adhere correctly to it, and so it's in pretty sad shape. And interior, it's been remodeled so many times, it's just hacked up, and it's got plumbing run with CPVC just above a drop ceiling, and it's kind of a mess. So, but I don't want you to swallow the whole thing at once. We're quite willing to come back.
Okay.
Last to my comment, I'm thrilled about the restoration of that, of your father's garage, your gas station. That's fantastic.
Sam?
I would like to second Chris's, I love that building. I think that gas station is fabulous. And I'm very excited that you're going to restore it. And also, I think the sort of broad strokes of your plan to add on to it, I think that works. You know, you're doing the compatible but differentiated. You can obviously tell it's a very different structure than what's going on up front. I think generally with us, you know, it's an elevated conservation district. So we're not as fussy, I guess you would say, about what all the materials and such are using on an addition for a contributing building. That said, I am very uncomfortable with and cannot support the demolition of the other building at this time, given what you're proposed to put up. I think that the non-contributing building, one thing it does, I think Gloria nailed it on the head, it holds the street edge, it adds massing. And I think your concerns about making a building too big, I would worry a little bit less about that. But looking at the settlement pattern of this neighborhood, and that feels very, very, all the new structures back at the back of the lot feel very different and incompatible with what's going on in the rest of the neighborhood. That said, I don't have any issue with you going and restoring the gas station and adding on to it. It's just, I would like to see a radically designed site plan before you come back.
John?
It's the addition, it is a sequence. You know, we're not going to demolish the one building until we have the addition, because we have to have the addition on so the tenant can move over there before you do the demolition. But on the other hand, it's without having some level of assurance that you can remove the building, you're kind of caught between a hard place and a rock of deciding to put the addition. You know, worst case is you put the addition on, you've tied up a big chunk of the site access, and you can't get to the back because that you can't remove the building, so the site gets, you know, it's undeveloped. So, I mean, I think it's a hand in glove. You have to sort of take both. And as Bob said, we obviously intend to come back with a lot more definition to the buildings in the back. But it is you know, these are all trade-offs. I mean, I understand completely about the streetscape massing and the development of it. But it is, Otherwise, you eat up an awful lot of driveway. I've got a half a dozen at least scenarios of trying to get it developed without having, and I put parking all over this site. And using a double loaded corridor with it's a trade-off of the green space. I mean, it's unfortunate. I mean, I don't know how else to.
Terry, I'm willing
Yeah.
to, if they're willing to go ahead with the gas station proposal, I'm willing to wait on the other building. I want to state one more issue that I was trying to avoid. If anything is done to the beauty shop, or it's to be rebuilt, anything like it is right now, it becomes a problem because it's got retail below and residential above, and there is no separation and there's no sprinklers there. It would mean a considerably larger project that would require installing sprinklers and making some major changes there at that site. So I'm willing to just leave with the gas station, and we'll work this over again and discuss it. But I just want them to know what you told them, the problems with the pavement, and this other problem is a problem I want to avoid. And it means to make that kind of a mess there that I'm going to have to go to townhouses because I can't afford to put residential above commercial. It's just going to have to be a different design. But we can work it over and come back with some new proposals. It may take a couple of meetings to get past it at that.
Great, thanks, Bob. John, do you have any comments?
No comments.
Elizabeth?
No comments.
My comment is what I'm hearing from the petitioner, Mr. Shaw, is that he's willing to accept that if we approve the addition to the gas station, which I think we're all in favor of. I agree that I love that building, and I'm glad that it's going to be around for a long time. That we can partially approve this COA and have them come back for the demolition and the other development, and I would support that. Any comments from the public?
What clarification question?
Sure.
For the specific design of what goes behind the gas station, wouldn't it come back with more detail just for design approval?
Yeah, that's probably true.
Because it's very vague at the moment, and
Well, I don't think we expected approval of the third element. I mean, this was the only.
He's talking about the addition to the gas station. Specific plans for that addition.
just some details would be good to
Sure.
review.
Right, and that's
Before
fine. I
construction.
I think the restoration and the addition is probably the easiest part of the whole project.
So here's what I'm going to suggest, that we deny tonight, that the petitioner come back with COA just for the gas station and the addition with some more specific plans and specs for this building, and then we can move forward on the other things in this piecemeal way. It's really hard to, I mean, this is all one big project, and it's really hard to approve this as it sits and without doing a bunch of conditional stuff. So that's my suggestion to the commission, and I'm entertaining any motions at this time.
Is the petitioner willing to come back to the table with a more revised design to the restoration in addition to the gas station?
Given the understanding that you're going to support this, and we're just talking about the elements of how it's being constructed, yes, absolutely.
All right, fantastic. Then I'm going to move to deny, boy, what is the number on this guy? I lost it.
21-38.
Yeah, 21-38 A, B, and C, with the understanding that we are looking favorably upon future petitions for 21-38A.
Could I guess this is more of a procedural thing, but I guess I'm sorry. All right. Yeah, hello. I think that it would be easier to do not so much a denial on part A, but rather a continuance.
Just because it's so involved, I think it's a better procedurally for us to look at this in different steps separately.
Okay.
But the understanding
And we need more detail on that addition.
Okay.
So I need a second.
Second,
Dee?
Lee Sandwise,
yes.
Chris Durbaum,
yes,
John Saunders,
Yes,
Sam DeSaller,
Yes.
Elizabeth Mitchell,
yes,
Jeff Golden.
Yes.
Motion
Thank you. We
carried.
look forward to seeing those projects. Okay, so let's move on to Bruce. Are you here? Bruce Storm or somebody representing you?
Bruce was here.
it's a good project, Bob. Good luck.
Bruce was here. I was about to email him.
Thank you.
Bruce, are you here? Marcy?
I think we've lost him again. I saw Bruce pop on because I had sent Marcy a text. But I think we've lost him again.
Well, let's just hold on to that one again and let's move on to our next section, demolition delay.
Okay.
So 21-11, 613 East 12th Street. Doug McCoy.
Okay, so demolition delay, let's start with the first one. So this structure found on 613 East 12th Street, the petitioner is Douglas McCoy. The structure is contributing. The request is for a full demolition. So the staff recommends the release of demo delay 21-11. This single family house built around 1900 has been slightly altered and is in good condition. It has a newer shed built on the back. The house did belong to the prominent living Bloomington artist Dale Anna. So I'm not sure if I pronounced it correctly. The main reason that staff is hesitant to push it towards a nomination of designation is because it's a living artist rather than someone who has passed on. So the house, although in a good state, does not comply with any of the city's code of ordinance without being part of a greater multi-structure historic district. So this is a contributing structure. It is in good condition. Here are some more images. This is from the side. There's a lot of foliage, but everything looked well. The shed in the back is in really good condition. This is an image from the alleyway. Let's see, those are all the images I have so far, and that's kind of where we're at with this structure.
Doug, anything to add?
No, thank you for having me this evening, and I think Gloria summed it up well. I guess I would just add that it's part of IU's master plan, and just to the east, they recently built a parking lot, and to the north of that parking lot, a metal building that's for their art pottery type studio, and to the west of it is an IU maintenance. It looks like they're probably using it temporarily, but it's some IU maintenance staff. And then most everything around it is, because it's part of the master plan, that does still exist, has like School of Informatics signs, in front of it. So eventually, I think this will just become part of campus.
Thank you. Commissioner questions? Lee?
No, I don't have any.
Chris?
Yeah, when there was a proposed demolition in university courts, university ended up moving buildings. And it seems a real shame to take down a perfectly good building because there's a vision of a parking lot in the future, and it would be good for the community if the university would move this structure to another lot and maintain some housing that we need so badly in the city. And so my question is, has that come up?
That's not something that has come up for me, no.
Okay, thank you.
Sam?
Would the petitioner be willing to talk to BRI about the possibility of moving the house off-site?
Yes.
Thank you.
John?
No comments. No questions.
Yeah. Elizabeth?
Just a minute. I don't have any comments either.
Great. Any questions from the public? Commissioner comments, Lee?
I think the idea of reaching out to BRI is a great one, and I hope that happens.
I'm happy to do that. Yeah.
Okay. Chris?
Yeah, the common way to do that is to donate the demolition cost. And in this case, it would be helpful and beneficial and maybe a make or break issue if money for the foundation could be part of this, so that instead of just losing a single family residence, we keep one and enhance one instead of just demolishing one. So that's my comment. I would be very pleased if the university were to consider, because this is not going to be the first one, and hasn't been the first one, and it won't be the last one.
Doug, this is your own personal property, right?
Yes, it is. Yes.
Yeah, this is not owned by the university.
Yeah.
But isn't it, didn't you refer to the master plan?
Well, the master plan has a plan for all those properties.
Yeah. Right.
So I guess we didn't ask, does it just stay down so you don't have to maintain it, or what?
Well, I own it, but the university's master plan goes all the way to Indiana Avenue to the west. And so, but I'm happy to work with BRI and to see if there's, to go through the process of trying to move it. I'd be very supportive of that.
If I could just ask, is that why you see no future for the ownership of the house, that the master plan has it doomed for demolition or something?
No, we wanted to move it, and we're in the student rental business, and we would try to build something there to rent out to students.
I see.
And we see that becoming more compatible with what's going to happen as the university progresses in that direction.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
John?
I'm sorry, I'm going to ask a question, and maybe I missed it, but is this in one of the protected neighborhoods?
What's demolition delay?
No, I understand demolition delay, but is it a part of, I'm sorry, I can't think of the neighborhood association over there.
No.
There's no other protection.
Okay, thank you.
Elizabeth? You with us, Elizabeth?
I won't bother anybody. Yeah, I'll go along with that. Yes.
Okay, so this is one of those instances where I don't see how there would be a lot of support for saving this house at the city council. It's a shame to see it go, and I hope that Doug, that you will work if we approve this demolition with BRI and that we can work something out there.
Yes.
Okay, so I have the sheet of paper, so I'm going to read it. And you can vote however you like. Today regarding the property at 613 East 12th Street, the Historic Preservation Commission declares that it got notice of the proposed demolition, and after today's discussion sees no need to review the plans any further and waives the rest of the demolition period. HPC may later recommend the property for historic designation to Common Council.
I'll second that.
Okay, Dee?
Lee Sandwise,
Yes.
Chris Sturbaum,
Yes.
John Saunders,
Yeah.
Sam DeSaller,
Yes.
Elizabeth Mitchell,
Yes.
Jeff Golden.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thanks, Doug.
Yeah, Jeff, can you reiterate that? We just had a little trouble understanding what the result was.
The result is that it has been approved. Demolition.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you all very much.
Thanks, Doug.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have Bruce Storm back with us, I believe. Bruce, can you hear us? Bruce?
A second, sometimes takes some
Yeah.
30 seconds or a minute to.
Allow him to get back on.
He's muted.
You're muted, Bruce. Can you unmute? Yeah, there you go. You need to connect your sound, Bruce.
Can you use the chat function?
Hello?
Yeah, Bruce, there you are.
Hello? Yes?
Yeah,
Can you hear me?
I can. Can
Oh,
you hear us?
my gosh. I've been trying to do this for an hour.
Well, it's good to have
I
you.
need one of my 11 grandchildren here. They could have hooked me up, but I couldn't get on.
Okay, so we've had the presentation. Do
You had my
anything to add
presentation.
about this?
What's that?
Do you have anything to add around this project?
The only thing that Gloria questioned me about was the little crisscross fence on the left
Right.
of the building. And as I told her this morning, that's pre-existing. That's just a little screen that was put up to hide all of the utility meters that are at the corner of the house. There's about 4 or 5 meter boxes there, and they were ugly. So we just put that when they were, this house was completely remodeled, and they lifted the whole building up. What is you see as the second floor was the first floor, and they built this grocery store underneath it. And so, I mean, it's really not that historic. It's all been lifted up and built underneath and everything else. But that little screen over there was just to hide all of the view from the street of all the utility meters that are on that corner of the house. You see all those black pipes that are going down to the meters on the left?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
On the left.
On the left.
Oh,
Yeah, right there. That little screen, that's just a little lattice work screen that hides all the utility meters that are on the corner of the house. There's 4 or 5 of them. And that screen is not attached to the house. It just shields the meters from the view of the street.
Can we see the plans?
Yeah.
So what's all the crisscross in these plans, Bruce?
Those are, everything that you see are railings around the patio. None of it's attached to the house.
So those railings though, it looks like that there's,
It looks like it's on the house, but it's not. That's just,
well, not on the house, but even those are like like see-through walls, right?
it's just like treated cedar woods is like a fence.
Okay,
It's a see-through. You see through it.
okay, all right, great. Anything else, Bruce?
No, I don't think so. I think it's going to be a nice.
We're
I
gonna,
think it'll
we're
be a
gonna
nice
have some
addition.
people ask you some questions.
Okay.
Lee, do you have any questions?
Nope.
Chris?
Yeah, did staff recommend taking down that higher part above the lower part of the fence
What higher part?
on the
Yes.
right?
That
Yes, staff recommended that this part, let me see if I.
that's just a continuation of the side. That pretty. I gave you a picture of what the side view. That just turns the corner and then comes back to meet the house.
Yeah, but the front.
It's not on the front. It turns the corner. The patio goes all the way to the right past the house.
So is that back at the back of the house, near the house?
It's
That taller screen?
it's in front of the house. It just comes. It just.
But a foot off the house, you say, or something like that?
It comes. Actually, it just comes back and meets the corner of the house. It looks like that drawing overlaps the corner a little. It just meets the corner of
But
the
it
house.
just meets it and screens what's behind the
Yes,
house. So there's open space between the fence and the back.
what that screens is a outside stairway that goes up to a deck that goes into the 3 apartments upstairs.
So that.
Right, and it doesn't come across the front of the house. like
No,
it shows.
no, that I don't know why that it looks like it goes across the house, but it just meets the corner of the house. The
Right.
screen that- if you're sitting on the patio, if you looked out at that screen one there, you'd see the stairs going up to the apartments and the deck.
I see. Good,
Mhm.
thank you.
You're
That's good.
welcome.
Sam?
So I'm looking at drawing AE 101, the plan, proposed patio plan.
Yeah.
And the way it is presented right now on that drawing, could you go to that plan, Gloria?
That's on the, yes, give me a second. That's in the packet and the packet's not for some reason. It's
Well,
not
the way
open.
the way it's drawn on the plan is that you have columns right up against the front facade of the house, and there are a couple problems with that. One is that the rafter profile that's shown is going to have to be lopped off there, and then the other problem is it's actually going to obscure the front facade of the house, and I worry about water damage and all those things. So
It's not going to touch the house.
okay, but
That
that's not
framework
what the
just-
package says, is what I'm getting at. What drawings were submitted, it's touching the house.
Give me one
But
second.
that's framework to support the arbor up above, the sun arbor.
Bringing up the-
I understand that. What I am saying is that framework is touching the house as submitted.
Well, I don't know. I had Tabor Bruce design that from that picture that we like so much to create a pretty patio setting. And I'm trying to see.
Is this open?
That's the drawing I'm referring to. So if you look at the house, right where the 2 double doors are at the grocery store entry, I guess it is,
Yeah.
all of the column, that there's a column line there that it's attached to the house. It's right, boom, it's right there.
Well, it's just a square framework. If you just set it down in front of the house to support the arbor. I don't know. I didn't think it was on the house. It's just a framework to support the arbor on the existing patios.
All right, so what I'm trying to say,
I mean,
I'm an
how
architect.
far
I'm
away
a-
would you want it from the house? I mean, the patio goes all the way up to the house. It's a pre-existing patio.
I'm not taking issue with the patio. I'm taking issue with the framework abutting the front facade of the house. And I think that you want your architect to go back and revise these drawings such that your rafter profile that you like is able to go all the way across and cantilever over so that it reads as the rafter profile as shown, because the way the plan is showing, you're only going to get like 4 rafters that are, on the west side of the patio that will actually have that profile, because everything else is going to get lopped off because it's basically slammed right up against the front facade of the house, which is what the HPC does not like.
Well, what would look any different if it was moved a foot out? I mean, it would still be the same effect from the view of the street. I don't see what that solves at all.
I think he means turn the rafters sideways, the other way.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that you're going to potentially cause damage to the front facade of the house by having that framework directly up against it. I don't think it's good for the front facade of the house.
Well, that's vinyl siding. Nothing historic about that.
Anything else, Sam?
That's it. Thank you.
John?
No comments. No
Elizabeth?
question.
Yeah, these are questions. Elizabeth, any questions?
I just think it's going to be a lovely addition for that street. I've remodeled most of the houses on that street with great applause from the public and the city. So I don't know what, I'm shocked that you would object to this, but anyone would. I have some experience in remodeling 4th Street since Restaurant Row is basically my wife's and my plan, all the way from the Siam House clear down to the fire station and around the corner on Granite. I just, a technical little objection like that
So, okay, thanks.
smacks
Liz.
me in the face from all I've done on 4th Street.
Appreciate your opinion. Elizabeth has left us, so any questions from the public? Commissioner comments? Lee?
No, I don't have any.
Chris? Chris, are you still with us?
Chris? Chris? I hope you're with me. I mean, you've been with me in all the things I've done on 4th Street and have applauded me in many, many things.
Thanks, left. So we're gonna skip him for a minute. Sam, comments?
I think I actually incorporated my comments into the
Yes.
question bit.
John, comments?
It would be nice if there was a little more clarification on how it's coming up to the house.
If it was hot, I can't hear you, John.
I said it would be nicer if we had clarification in how that structure will come up against the house. But all in all, I think Bruce, you've done a good job with that neighborhood.
Thank you.
So I don't think I would oppose this.
Thank you.
I don't have any comments regarding this. So I'm entertaining a motion. Don't all jump
I
up.
move we approve 21-32. Not 21-32, it's
Oh, I don't have it in front of me.
Oh, it's, give us a second here.
what's the number there, Gloria?
2137.
I move we approve 2137.
Is there a second? Hearing none, there is no second. Do I have a different motion? Anybody home? You tired? Any
I mean,
other
look at the
discussion?
shoddy appearance of that is now. There's 2 or 3 different types of railings around there. We're gonna take all that up and make it all unified and beautiful. I don't know
Chris,
why.
do you have any comments about this now that you're back?
I think Bruce has good taste.
Thank you, Chris.
So.
There was a move to approve, Chris. I don't know if you want to second that or not.
Second that?
I'll second it.
Okay. D,
Lee Sandwise,
Yes.
Chris Sturbaum,
Yes.
John Saunders,
yes,
Sam DeSaller,
I will abstain.
Elizabeth Mitchell.
she's gone, I think.
Oh, okay. Jeff Golden.
I'm thinking about it. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move on to demolition delay. 21-12, 219 East 19th Street for a full demolition.
Okay,
And this is the first of 2 from the same petitioner.
yes. So petitioner Ryan Strasser is asking for full demolition of 219 East 19th Street. So the staff is recommending release of demo delay 2112. The 1940 Mid-Century Cottage located on the intersection of 19th and Lincoln Street is in good condition, although slightly altered. The doors are original, although some of the ground floor windows have been replaced. The house, although in good state, does not comply with any of the city's code of ordinance for historic district criteria without being part of a greater multi-structural historical district. So I couldn't find any like any notable historic figure or event that occurred at this building. It is contributing, but it is contributing. It would have more weight in context of a district, of a multi-building district rather than on its own. So that's where we're at.
Ryan, are you here?
More pictures.
Yes, I'm on here.
Anything to add?
Nothing to add, unless there's any questions from anyone.
We're gonna get to that right now. Okay, Lee, do you have any questions?
No, I don't.
Chris?
Yeah, is 1300 North Lincoln adjoining?
No.
It's not? Just interested if the change in zoning made it more attractive to demolish these structures.
Yeah, kind of demolishing both of the properties kind of go along with the master plan, change of zoning, change of density, everything else in these areas. So it's part of our clients' rework of the properties they own there.
Right. Thank you.
Yep.
Sam?
Would the petitioner be willing to talk to BRI about this one?
I would have to take that back to our client, so, and ask them that question.
All right, just keep it on the back burner. Thank you.
Okay.
I don't have any questions. Any questions from the public? Commissioner comments, Lee?
Again, be a great idea to reach out to BRI. This is a nice looking, solid house. Could be somebody's home.
Chris?
Yeah, I'm going to cheat and ask one more question. Is the client a local landowner or an investor from outside of the city?
It is a local landowner.
Okay, thank you.
Sam?
Nothing further. Thank you.
John?
no, nothing from me. Again, it's sad to see these properties go away.
One more comment.
Yes, sir.
This is a direct result of action by the mayor and action by the city council and it's just the tip of the iceberg.
Thank you for your comment. I'm gonna be sad to lose this house, but considering the context of this area already, before even the zoning change, this is where this area is going, and this is, in my opinion, kind of the trade-off that we're making, and we save some, and, you know, in areas where it doesn't make sense, we don't. And I hope that, Ryan, you will go back to your client and consider donating this house to BRI, along with, you know, what was mentioned before, maybe some foundation, because this is a really nice house, and it's going to be sad to see it go. Okay,
I will mention it to him.
Thank you. Okay, today, regarding the property located at 219 East 19th Street, the Historic Preservation Commission declares that it got notice of the proposed demolition. And after today's discussion, sees no need to review the plans any further and waives the rest of demolition delay waiting period. HPC may later recommend that the property for historic designation to the Common Council.
I will second that.
D?
Lee Sandwise,
Yes.
Chris Sturbaum,
Yes.
John Saunders,
Yes.
Sam DeSaller,
Yes.
Jeff Golden.
Yes. Okay, so let's move on to demolition delay 21-13. This is 1300 North Lincoln Street. Again, Ryan is up. Go ahead, Gloria.
So this is another house brought by Ryan Strasser. It is another contributing structure with a request for full demolition. Staff is recommending a release of the demo delay 2113. So this contributing building is a hip roof house dating from 1950. It is in good condition, however, it does not comply with the ordinance. It doesn't have the strength to sort of to stand on its own in terms of designating it as a single building district or a site, historic site. So that's where we're at. Here are some additional images that were taken recently. So at the front and the side.
Anything to add on this one, Ryan?
No, pretty much the same as the other one. I'll answer any questions.
Awesome. Lee, any questions?
No, I don't have any.
Chris?
No.
Sam?
No.
John?
Nope.
I don't have any questions either. Any questions from the public? Commissioner comments, Lee?
Nope.
Chris?
No.
Sam?
No.
John?
Nope.
Other than I'm not going to miss this one quite as much. I'm going to approve this. So today, regarding the property located at 1300 North Lincoln Street, the Historic Preservation Commission declares that it got notice of the proposed demolition, and after today's discussion sees no need to review the plans any further and waives the rest of the demolition delay period. The HPC may later recommend the property for historic designation to the Common Council.
Second.
Steve?
Lee Sandwise,
Yes.
Chris Sturbaum,
Yes.
John Saunders,
Yes.
Sam DeSaller,
Yes.
Jeff Golden.
Yes. Okay, so let's move on to, thank you, Ryan.
Thank you, everyone.
Let's move on to demolition delay 21-14, 757 South Lincoln. Petitioner is Alan Schwartz.
So this is a different type of scenario. It is a demolition delay. This is a notable structure. The request is for a partial demolition in order to correct the roof, words, anyways, to correct the roofing system. and to change up the garage, to basically rebuild the garage. So the staff does recommend release of this demo delay, mainly because the proposal is for improvements to the house, to the longevity of the house and to the roofing structure. So part of the roof that's being proposed for demolition, I'm going to show you the images here. These are the areas that are going to be intervened. The garage doesn't have the same historic value as the house, and it does show deterioration. And it's going to be rebuilt by the owner in the style of the smaller building in the back. The roofing system is basically, there was a back porch roof that had been added later on, and it's not it doesn't contribute to the water drainage of the rest of the house or to the proportions of the roof. So the owner is looking to, here's some additional images, to correct that with a proposed roofing system. The owner did send more images, and those can be brought up if there are more questions. So this final one is for what the proposed garage would be like, and it would be functioning as a studio. The image to the right is a structure that the owner has already built himself, and it is going to be, and is using that template, sent that image to show how the new garage replacement would look like. So yeah, so basically the staff recommends release of this demo delay for the opposite reason, because this partial demolition is for the improvement of the building and doesn't impact negatively, in our consideration, the fabric of the historical structure, and in the long run will actually help the building through better water drainage, have a better, longer life.
Sister here?
Yes, I'm sorry about that. Yeah, Alan is here.
Alan, anything to add?
No, I want to thank Gloria for summarizing what I shared with her. My wife Ann is here as well, just FYI. And yeah, thank you. And we're here to answer any questions as well. Let me turn off my phone. Thank you.
Great. So Commissioner questions. Lee?
No, I don't have any.
Chris?
No.
Sam?
The only questions I had were answered by those images that Gloria just showed, so thank you.
John?
No questions.
I also have no questions. Any questions from the public? Commissioner comments, Lee?
Nope.
Chris?
No.
Sam?
I appreciate the care you're using on replacing or, reconfiguring the drainage system. I think it looks spot on, exactly what needs to happen. So this looks great. Thank you.
John?
I agree with Sam. I think this is a good project for these people. And I'm in agreement with him.
I don't have anything to add to any of those comments. So today, regarding the property located at 757 South Lincoln Street, the Historic Preservation Commission declares that it got notice of the proposed partial demolition, and after today's discussion sees no need to review the plans any further and waives the rest of the demolition waiting period. The HPC may later recommend the property for historic designation to the Common Council.
Second.
Dee?
Lee Sandwise,
Yes.
Chris Sturbaum,
Yes.
John Saunders,
Yes.
Sam DeSaller,
Yes.
Jeff Golden.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you and good luck with your project.
Thank you.
Thanks for your endurance.
Thank you.
Exactly. Thank
Okay, so let's go on to old business, an update on the Smith House.
Okay, so let me. Okay, so I just wanted to provide a bit of a timeline of what's ongoing right now. So on August 6th, I actually presented at the Common Council work session. I was going to present a PowerPoint, and for technical reasons, wasn't able to show them the PowerPoint, but was able to explain the history of the house and its, and why make the argument in the case as had been prepared in Connor's staff report. But I did send in the PowerPoint and packet to the Common Council for their packet. And yeah, on August 18 will be the first reading of the regular session, followed by committee discussion on the same night. And September 1st will be the second reading at the regular session. So by early September, we should know whether the house has been designated or not.
Any questions about that?
Nice house.
Okay, so
Jim.
Johnson Creamery update.
So this is just a very quick timeline of what's been happening. The first meeting that HPC meeting that I attended before taking on my capacity as a historic preservation program manager, Peerless, the company, the owners presented a concept that involved the partial demolition of the historic structure of the creamery proper. There's various things that are co-occurring with the property. So I'm trying to create a timeline, type it up, and make sure that everything that's happening is sort of easier to understand in the long run, because there is a lot going on. There are three main projects tied to this property. One of them is a new construction on the parking lot. One of them is the stabilization of the smokestack, and the other one is a potential development through demolition and construction on the factory proper and the creamery proper. So July 8th, at the HPC meeting, most of you were here. Sorry, Peerless presented a concept for the creamery proper that involved the demolition of a third of the structure, and that has not been brought up again. July 14th, when I started working at Bloomington City, and I went to Indianapolis because the Indiana Historic Preservation Review Board approved a stabilization proposal by Peerless that involved the removal of the top 15 feet of the Johnson smokestack, so the J and the O. The reality is that studies have been done, and the smokestack does need stabilization. There are different paths this can take, but I'm just giving the update of what has happened. July 21st, there was a site visit with some of the commissioners and myself. So we just went there and saw what was going on. July 22nd, at the HPC meeting, it was brought up again. And sort of like we talked about some of these things. Then August 3rd, 2021, the Development Review Committee in Planning, the site was brought up once more by Peerless, and they were basically bringing in the newest proposal for construction at the parking lot. So only the new building in the parking lot was mentioned. I did, however, I was present and I asked how that would impact the smokestack, because when there's construction, there's always some sort of earth movement and things, mitigation should happen. They said that during the phase of that construction, they would also be viewing to concurrently work with the stabilization of the smokestack, and they're projecting that first phase. So the first phase for them would be the smokestack and the new building in the parking lot for early 2022. talk about them bringing in a demolition delay has not been brought up, or about any other sort of action has been brought up. This is sort of where we're at the moment. And so I just wanted to bring everybody up to date.
Any comments or questions?
They'd have to have demo delay to take down part of that chimney, am I right?
Yes.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, one last old business. The BG Pollard Lodge, otherwise known as The Hole. I went and talked to Patrick and he showed me around this building. And I took a bunch of pictures, which we'll just go through real quickly.
Let me,
Yeah.
I'm going to stop sharing. Give me 1 second.
So he has made, so the reason that this has come up is that Indiana Landmarks is putting this on the one of the 10 most endangered properties in Indiana list for this year. And so there's been a discussion between some people in the city, someone from IU, about the future of this building and the historic significance of it. So it was suggested that I go talk to Patrick. It's Patrick Fior, who owns the Petite Cafe and some other properties in town. And so he showed me around, and he showed me, let's take a long time. Well, it may not work. I can describe what I saw. So he has made significant improvements to this property, both inside and out. I wouldn't say that I'm crazy about what he did, but it has been done. And he said that he spent about $100,000 so far on this. Both levels of this building, it is chock full of stuff. His plans are he may live there or make it a single family residence. It's way big for a single family residence, but it does have potential for that. He has no plans to demolish it. He spent way too much money, and one of the proposals is to turn this into a historic, a history center, maybe, for this part of our community. Did it do it?
I think so. Let's see.
7th Street. Yeah, there you go.
I'm going to see if I can open them with. I'm just going to share full screen. Give me 1 second.
So these are the pictures. So this is just kind of an update of what's going on this. I think this, the structure itself is, doesn't really have any significance other than it's been there for a long time.
I'm going to screen share full screen.
But it does have a history with the Black community. It was a lodge that was primarily for the Black community for many years. So these are just interior photos. It's really hard to tell what's going on there, but this is the kitchen. It's in the basement. This is the basement room. This was the party room originally. You can see, I mean, the stuff makes it really difficult. There's the original bar. This is the hallway. That's the bar also. That's the back bar. You can see it's limestone. He's redone the bathrooms. That's one of them. I don't remember what that is. That's another bathroom. There's a full shower in there. These are all in the basement. So this is the main level where you can see where he's redone wiring and interior finishes. There's new windows. That's the rear of the site. And that's the rear of the building. That's the side of the building at the alley. That's the front. And the site is overgrown, but the actual outside of the structure is in pretty good shape. That's the entry. That's the front where it's gotten overgrown. So anyway, there's Patrick, excuse me. So anyway, just kind of an update on what's going on here. There is kind of an effort to maybe get him to sell this property. You know, I'm not really sure what the end game is, but I do think it's an important property just because of the story of what went on there. Any questions?
Jeff, is there any historic funds, federal funds that would help restore this property? Do you know of?
I don't know, and I think that's part of what they're investigating right now.
Thanks, Jeff.
Anybody else? Okay, it's been a long night. I don't think we have any commissioner comments tonight.
Thanks for hanging in, everybody.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah, I got a couple of things, but I'm going to save them for the next one. It has to do with going back and looking at stuff that got illegally done and how we follow up on it.
Yeah, that's a great discussion. Anybody else? Any public comments? Any announcements tonight? Let's call it a night. Thanks again for being here. It was a
Good night,
long.
all.
Thank
Good
you
night.
all. Good night.